Hi everyone, I'm Celia Fenn, and today I have a very special guest with me. This is Michael Abramson, who is a master healer and teacher and a coach and a mentor and works with holistic health. So welcome, Michael.
Thank you very much, Celia. I feel very honored to be here on this day before the 8-8 Gateway. And I'm just grateful for all the work that you're doing and so many around the world in this just huge leap of consciousness that we're all flowing through right now.
Yeah, I just need to mention that, of course, today is the 7th of August and tomorrow is the 8-8. So big energies on the go here. But the reason I invited Michael to come and speak to us is because he works with the what he calls the sacred masculine, or I would call the divine masculine. Now, I work with the divine feminine, so I know a lot about that, but not so much about the masculine and
Yes.
how people work with that energy. So Michael is going to talk to us, hopefully, about
Yes.
that, and maybe also a little bit about his new project with his wife, Honey, which is the Ascension Alchemist work and website. So, Michael, talk to us about the sacred masculine.
Well, the sacred masculine is the sacred divine masculine, as we all know. And I just place sacred masculine as a energy because I feel, as we all know, we have the sacred divine masculine within us, the sacred divine feminine within us. And so I feel it's been a deep calling and a passion to help the men because, growing up and really looking at what was given to humanity, I felt there was a lot missing. And I was very gifted because my parents brought me into a very high spiritual realm. And I started to see as I was evolving that we as men were never really given what I feel are the full expression of what the masculine is. We were taught how to be strong on the outside. We were taught to be protectors. We were taught to show up. But I believe we were never taught how to apply that inwardly. And on this powerful portal of the Lion's Gate, of holding that strength, holding that courage and resilience that comes within our emotions, our thoughts, our actions, and it really aligns what I believe with these divine principles that were never really shown to us. When I mean never shown to us, they were spoken lightly, maybe in beautiful selected programs. But as I had a conversation with a dear man yesterday, we weren't taught how to deal with our emotions. What happens when our emotional body is inflamed, or when our thoughts and our mental body, a very masculine feature where our thoughts start to get ahead of us, how we can start to control them, work with them. Because what I've learned as a healer is there's this huge alignment between the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, and the spiritual body.
Yeah.
Yet, growing up in this 3D, we're usually just shown this 3D dimension, which is perfectly fine. We know we're in this shift of conscious evolution. So it's been a passion of mine since I met my wife, which I felt in our divine union and her focus of the sacred divine feminine and my ignition of the sacred divine masculine, that we've come together to, most important, embody it. Because it's one thing to speak about it, it's one thing to cultivate it, but I feel right now in our ascension journey, it's truly about embodying, which I almost feel it's like incension because we've understood what's happening around us. Now we know what's happening outside, that we have to, or what I believe is walking what the divine naturally tells us in those levels of what's
Yeah.
come forward. So it's been a gift to move forward and work with men retreats, as many have seen, conscious circles that I've been doing for the past 8 years in the Washington, D.C. area, in Sarasota. We're back and forth right now. And it's just been amazing to see more and more men not only awaken, but dive into the curiosity of, who am I? Why am I here? And what is my purpose?
Yeah,
And
I,
so,
I agree with you. Don't you think that for each of us, for me as a woman, divine feminine conscious woman, I also need to connect with my masculine and
yes,
heal my inner masculine in order
yeah,
to be or to ascend and to be fully conscious.
I absolutely agree. And I'm grateful you said that, Celia, because I feel in the masculine, a lot of us have not united with our feminine aspect. And even yesterday, as I was speaking to a client that I was working with, he was just expressing, a young gentleman, how he doesn't want to express his emotions, a very feminine quality, because it's deemed as weak and vulnerable. And what I really bring forth in a lot of the teachings is it's essential to embody the alignment of our feminine and masculine because most men have not been taught how to come into the heart. And I feel the heart center is one of the greatest portals for us to communicate, right?
I agree with you totally. I found in my interaction with men that the heart is the part that's missing, you know. Um,
Yeah.
there might be spiritual or mental or emotional, even sexual, but the heart just kind of doesn't make it. So I think it's awakening the heart in uh, the masculine that will enable them to integrate all the others.
And haven't you noticed, Celia, that like a lot of us men, conscious, those that are unconscious, either way, we've been really mentally stimulated in our mental body. We've been
Yeah,
overstimulated, even when you look at society, right?
right.
And now I feel like the mental body is important, but we also have different bodies. And when we connect that mental into the heart, there's this divine alignment where we're then able to feel. And that's one area that I'm working on specifically. I'm sure you've seen that as men can communicate, right? But can they express in a way where they know their feelings, they know their emotions? Because sometimes we're so top heavy in our head
Yeah.
that there's a
Yes.
miscommunication or misalignment of when you speak to a man or when I speak to a man, sometimes they're just only in their head, which is okay, but sometimes the ego is only identifying of their perception. When we drop into our heart center, don't you feel there's a whole new world that's being opened up to?
Yes, and I think that's the big step for men and women to be
Yeah,
able to be in the heart and be heart centered
right.
rather than mental or physical or emotional, but actually come from the heart.
Yes. And I'm glad and I'm grateful because I feel like these conversations give permission for men to see a more heart-centered consciousness. And that heart-centered consciousness opens up our ability to be more compassionate, more caring, more loving, and just more open because what I've learned about the heart, which I feel is one of the greatest portals to receive, then we're open to connect to what I feel are divine qualities. As you know, in this time period, divine energies that are coming in. And many men sometimes are closed because we have that fear of not being safe, just like women. It's for both men and women. Fear of not being safe, fear of the unknown. So we control, we close our hearts. But really now it's opening the heart, surrendering, not losing, but opening ourselves so we can receive what's already here before us.
But Michael, how do you do this with the men that you work with? How do you give them permission or guide them into the heart space?
That's a great question. And what I usually do is I want to bring practical, structural, and logical ways they can understand so it doesn't knock them out of the head. I first bring them together. And the most important thing is I connect them to the heart through simple exercises like gratitude. Like the
Yeah,
first thing when we come together, I tell them to place their hands over the heart. And even with clients, first thing in the morning, can we just breathe into gratitude, but breathe it into our heart? And I do it in a somatic way where when they breathe into it, feel what they're grateful for, and then exhale it through their body. And that starts to open their heart space. And as they open their heart space, then I start to then recognize what is it that you are celebrating in your life? What is it that you bring achievement? Because I feel a lot of times men have to look inward of what they've accomplished. So by opening that heart space through gratitude, bringing that celebration of life of what they accomplished, because many times us men, we're so critical, we're so harsh on ourselves and women,
yeah.
that when we start to acknowledge what our greatest gifts are in life, then it starts to open up even greater, even greater. And so a third part is obviously grounding them because many times this head is disconnected from the body. So when I lead conscious men's circles on Siesta Key Beach, which is 98% quartz crystal. It's a huge vortex that just by grounding them, by doing breathing exercises, and so by breathing and connecting them to the elements of life, to the earth, to the fire, to the water, to the air, that naturally connects them to their root. And as it's connected to their root, it starts to give them permission to be in their body. Because many times myself, we're so in our mind that once we come into our body, once we start to open our heart, then I feel the biggest picture is to allow them to feel safe. And once they start to feel safe, then they start to give their permission to say, wow, I can actually speak from a place where I can be heard, where I can be seen. And the whole point of that is to make sure that there's huge boundaries and perimeters to know that whatever is spoken, we're here to honor it, we're here to respect it, not to judge it, and hold it in our highest heart. And I feel some of these practices individually, within a group, give permission to open, because once they feel safe and secure, that heart opens up, then they're able to communicate. And it's interesting how many men are really big on the outside, but they're so soft on the inside. They just haven't given their permission to open their heart up.
And when you say feeling safe, I suppose that applies to all of us, but
Yeah.
particularly with men, why do they feel unsafe? Is it the judgment?
Yeah,
What is it?
I feel there's this old condition where men have to be in control. They have to be strong. They have to be in charge.
Okay.
And so by being that, there's this nature of like, I always have to know what I'm doing. And I feel growing up, and this is for men and women, but I don't believe there have been many, there are some strong masculine models
Yeah.
to show us. Because if you speak to a lot of men, I was very blessed to have a father that was open in his heart, but many men weren't shown how to open their heart. And many men came from abused families, trauma, hurt, and pain. And the trauma work that I've done, I recognize because there's a lot of pain, trauma, fear, stress, what that automatically does is it closes us up and we don't feel safe because somewhere that pain body has closed us. So when giving the opportunity for a man to feel safe, he then relaxes his shoulder and opens up to his truth. But many times, like you said, there's this critical judge, and I know this in myself, I'm sure you may know this in yourself and many, that there's this mind that's constantly thinking in ourselves, are we doing it right? Because
Yeah.
of that belief we're not good enough. Or am I showing up because of a belief that I have to improve myself through the eyes of others versus through the eyes of within? And that's where I feel when a man can truly embody who he is, then he opens up. And it's interesting because they want to hold this strong, very powerful, stoic way, underneath, there's a lot of childhood wounds and there's a lot of areas that have never been cleared because, once again, I'm sure you've seen, there hasn't been a lot of programs to show how we heal trauma, how we bring forgiveness and letting go of old pain, and how most of us either spiritual bypass, we skip over our pain, and that just kind of gives us this element where we're controlling, because that control mechanism actually doesn't allow us to feel safe. We're actually trying to make sure everything is in proper alignment so we feel safe, yet we're not opening to our true potential.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. So the safety factor is a big thing. And so we have to allow ourselves to feel, I will be safe.
yes, I will be safe. And another one, I am secure.
Yeah.
I'm safe, I'm secure, and I'm grounded. Because if you look at the lower three chakras,
Yeah.
those three chakras are constantly, if you look at the exterior world, are thrown out of balance.
Uh-huh.
When you look at the root of being grounded, in our second chakra, in the creativity, in our third, in our power, a lot of that is being imbalanced through the outer world. And so when we look within, can we find our security, our root, so that we can be grounded? And so that would allow individuals just to connect what I feel, the body, the mind, and spirit. And many times when we're moving through the world, I see a lot of men just up here, but not connected to their heart or not connecting within. So that's why they may not feel safe. But part of it, I always feel it comes back to trauma, because anytime there's been massive trauma, there's a feeling that something has been taken away from them. And the core areas I've seen why men really don't feel safe, because and women, there's abandonment, rejection, and betrayal. And I would say those three are some of the biggest ones. And I'm like a curious scientist since I'm a background and science major. I went from Western to Eastern to shamanic to angelic, that I look at it in a way of like, wow, how can you connect the core wound to the emotion, to the limited belief, and then now into the empowered belief that you choose to bring the divine source, God, universe to then help you move out of it, which goes all the way back to the core wound that I believe we chose so we can evolve.
Yeah. So um, I feel that what you've been describing to me is also very much what women go through uh,
Yeah,
with the fear and the stepping into their power and being able to be in their heart and to feel
yeah,
safe. Because speaking for myself and my path, I certainly struggle to feel safe when I am expressing who
yeah,
I am and from my heart. I feel very much that I won't be heard, I won't be accepted,
yeah.
and that I'm not safe. So these are things we're all working on in a conscious way, because as you mentioned, we're evolving consciously into this higher space, which for me is a movement from the solar plexus to the heart, and solar plexus is mind. So we're moving from mind to heart, which is not emotions, it's a consciousness of your divinity. I think
Yeah,
a lot of people associate the heart with emotions, but
yeah.
it's not. The emotions are the lower level. The heart is the divinity and feeling that divine consciousness moving through you. So maybe you want to tell us a little bit about your new project?
Sure. So the past 3 years, and actually it's gone back probably to 8, where my wife, that she received this powerful message that we are called the ascension alchemists. We're here to alchemize ascension. And as my wife has been on the road for many years in this journey of ascension, we have this beautiful mission. And right now it's in many phases. And this mission is really to assist humanity to its divinity in this walk of grace and through alignment and embodiment. So we've just launched our website, ascensionalchemist.com. Right now, phase one is an online ministry, and it's a non-faith based, in which connects to unity consciousness and allows what we see right now, this ability for us to gather and to work with those that have been called here, that know their mission, that have gone through the process of awakening, and now they're here to bring forth the embodiment. When I say embodiment, the mastery of our beliefs, our emotions, our inner, what we call divine union, because we can be in an outer union, but the inner divine union is the masculine and the feminine in pure union with the Holy Child. And so, as we are cultivating this, the ultimate mission, which we have, which my wife has been shown, is to create these sacred centers around the world. And
Okay.
these sacred centers are going to have a beautiful meditation temple free to everyone. They're going to attract people all around the world as teachers, as leaders. And we know this has been our mission. Before I met her, I knew I was called much higher through my guides and through what's been shown to me to be a conscious leader. And coming together with my wife in a divine union, it's been a co-creation. She has been behind majority of it as the creator, as the visionary, as the one that has been fully bringing. But it's a beautiful community which we welcome individuals in. It's an area that we have. It's based on the I am presence. Where every Monday we have a meditation. Each day there are affirmations. We do online teachings, and we know this is the first phase. Before then, we know where we're guided to place these sacred temples. We know that there are sacred cities of light
Oh, that's
that
wonderful.
are on this world, and a lot of what we're doing has been broadcast as a portal through social media. That took me a little time to adjust because social media has a two-way phase. And it's given us the opportunity to show we are here to work with the way showers, the light workers, ones that know that they're here for a divine mission. And we've devoted everything in our life for this. So as some may look at their spiritual path or their enlightenment or their evolution as maybe my part-time job for my day job, we've taken on to say this is who we do, because through that we've created mentorships, we've created one-on-one healing, and we really help individual empower themselves because we feel
Yeah,
everything's already within you, right?
right. I think
Yeah.
that's lovely, and it's very similar to what I've been guided to do in terms of creating community. And
Yeah.
for people who are at this conscious level, it's not for the beginner souls, it's for people who are already at this level. And so I like the bit about doing it around the planet, and creating these sacred sites, because I think that is also so important. So I think that's a wonderful mission that the two of you have together as your balanced and integrated masculine and feminine energies. That's wonderful.
Thank you. We feel this call and we take it very seriously, and we bring the play of it too because we know, as you probably see, Celia, there's been a lot of separation and isolation in these times. And I feel right now it's important to bridge community,
Yeah,
bridge connection, and to really bring what we know into this. What I see is this higher awakening of the divine, sacred feminine rising. And part of the work that I do is to help men see that in this rise of the sacred divine feminine, our masculine has to create the protection and the support because this is the time of the rise of the sacred divine feminine. And I feel when we can see that both within us and outside of us,
yes,
it then allows us to find that alignment as we see through Mother Earth, as we see through the divine, and as we see through beautiful beings like yourself and all that you're sharing, all that you're doing, because I feel, as you know, it's like this conscious sleep that we're all been called here for this grand universal celebration, right?
yeah. So I think that's why one of the reasons why we are here on the day before the 8/8,
Yeah,
because in the work I'm doing with Archangel Michael, he talks about the emergence
yeah,
of this new earth being, Homo, I call Homo Christos, who moves beyond Homo sapiens. So
yeah,
birthing this magnificent new being that is us. And this is what we came for, to work with the divine energy and with Archangel Michael for me and the lions. I love your lion behind you there, the star lions, who are bringing in the sacred fire and helping us to connect with our inner divine feminine and also with the masculine energy.
yeah. I
So,
love that you work with Archangel Michael because I too work with Archangel Michael, and I feel as one of God's greatest messengers, it's one that we can all connect to. And really, what I felt to know that for many of us, to know that we're not alone, even though this journey sometimes feels like we're alone, right?
yeah,
And that we have these amazing beings, whether galactic, whether interdimensional. And what I see, many of us are just elevating ourselves to see the multi layers of consciousness now and how we move. What I feel is the challenges of our 3D consciousness that sometimes keeps us in a limited state of
yeah,
awareness.
yeah. I think that's the biggest challenge for us in these times of transition, is to recognize
Yeah.
when we're being pulled down by the old three-dimensional consciousness and to say, no, I'm opening out into our multidimensional consciousness. And that is very empowering for us at this time, anyway.
And that's why I feel like one of the greatest things that we can do is use our natural joy,
Yeah,
because I feel joy is the highest vibration that we can just joy through it. Because one of the things I teach with the men is what happens when we just accept the guilt, the shame, the blame, the lower densities. We just start inviting him and saying, like, when King Arthur had his round table or Yeshua had his disciples, there were groups that would come in to say, how can we sharpen our swords and bring the wisdom? And so that we can meet all of them to transmute that. Because that's what I feel many of us are here, are alchemizing these lower densities
yeah,
so that they can rise into higher level. So it's not about right, wrong, good or bad or the duality. It's our ability to come back to see everything is happening for a higher purpose. And we're all here in unison. And that's why when you invited me, I was like, I felt so grateful. I get the goosebumps or truth bumps because it feels like we're all here to work together and to really co-create. I feel that's one of the important things when people are seeing this. We're not alone. You have your communities, I have my communities, but we're also weaving our communities together. So there's future projects. There's services that we can all open ourselves up to so we can feel deeply connected back in the heart.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. That's been wonderful to share with you. Before we end off, do you have anything else you would like to add or throw in?
Well, I would like to say that right now, as you saw, is I'm working on a 12-week series called The 12-Week Journey of the Evolved Conscious Man. And what I feel, and it's interesting because it could be for men or women, because what I'm learning is these principles that are being brought forward can be applied because we have the masculine within us. And many women have actually inquired to help their brothers or their fathers out. And so this series is really here to help awaken the wisdom and your authentic power. And so each week, what I've been doing is creating a little preview on my social media outlets and then creating a self-guided series that those that want to really understand themselves in a deeper way and to bring forth what I feel the principles of the universe, simple principles as awareness, as communication, as discipline, pieces that we were taught maybe the cliff notes, but we didn't get the full version of it, and then apply it within us so that you can see where the challenges are, where the fears are, but most important, the exercise and tools that we can use on a daily basis. Because right now, when we can create a program within ourselves of alignment and balance, it allows us to be the greatest version of ourselves. So that's one of the areas I've been called because I feel that's going to turn to a book and to a series. And so I'm launching that in September. And when you messaged me, I just felt grateful because I felt like here's the universe once again showing that keep going. Because sometimes when you do something, it's like, are they ready for it? Is humanity here? And so a lot of times with the men, as you've seen, we're sometimes two steps behind the feminine because the feminine consciousness has been evolving for so long. And I feel the masculine is now picking its steam up to
Yeah.
really align with the feminine. That's what this program's about, of seeing where these areas are to help people. And so
And
I'm
where
really
can people find them? On Facebook
so,
or Instagram?
so what I'm going to do is they can find me on Facebook, the videos, and then underneath, if they're curious about it, we have through our online on our website, ascensionalchemist.com, or our YouTube page, Ascension Alchemist. All of them, they're links, which they can easily email me at abramson7@gmail.com, ascensionalchemist@gmail.com, so that when the series is done, then I'll have a program package for them, then for them to purchase. And that's one area which I feel is the first of many to help men raise their consciousness and elevate what I feel is the wisdom that's here. And for those that feel that they're called as well, if they're women, and those that want to feel these principles that they can apply within their own relationships. Because sometimes women don't understand men because we're so in our heads. So this gives a greater version of why men are acting this way, where our fears, where our wounds and our traumas. So this is a great
And
invitation.
do you feel that if a woman does this course, she can also bring that healing into her family line or the family
Yes,
circle?
I absolutely agree because ironically, I work with more women than men. I'm working a lot with men, but
Yeah.
since the beginning, with this field of healing, that I've worked with a lot of women. And so there's that masculine lineage in their line from their father, from their brother. So I feel like a lot of this is geared toward the masculine wound because we see the wounded feminine, we see the wounded masculine. And so when we start bridging and finding out the pieces of why this is happening, I'm really seeing through the teachings, this is on a broader universal effect. It's going toward the masculine because I work with a lot of brothers and a lot of men, but I'm also realizing as I teach it, I'm like, wow, this can be universal because
Yeah.
these are the teachings that once we embody them, they're awakening and helping the feminine and masculine within us. So excellent question. Thank you, Celia.
Well, thank you so much, Michael. It's been wonderful talking to you and hearing about your work. And I'm just wishing you and Honey all the best. Just much expansion and abundance with this wonderful new program. Thank you so much.
Thank, and thank you, Celia, for taking the day before Lionsgate to invite me on all the way from South Africa and Cape Town. And so it's a blessing to be from one side of the world to the other, that we can speak on this and allow ourselves to connect heart to heart. It's been a true pleasure.
Thank you. And bye bye, everyone. See you soon.